Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise in relation to the budget presented by the Honourable Senior Minister in the Office of the President with responsibility for finance on January 26, 2020 under the theme, Steadfast Against All Challenges, Resolute in Building Our One Guyana. Mr. Speaker, my careful examination of this budget proves that the Honourable Minister was right when he chose the theme. Mr. Speaker, yes, he was correct because to my understanding, he said to all Guyanese that all the PPPC government remains steadfast against challenges by ordinary man and the opposition to convince them that a poor, people-centered budget is what is needed and not a rich man's friends, family, and associates of the PPPC budget. Mr. Speaker, further I say that the Honourable Minister was again correct when he said, resolute in building our one Guyana. Because clearly, sir, the PPPC's one Guyana is evidently defined as special preference to one ethnic group, one class and caliber of people, one set of affiliates and associates, and yes, one way of governance through corruption, inequalities, and injustices. Mr. Speaker, this budget will indeed build one class and one group of people, while, sir, the ordinary citizens and hard-working public servants are left out in the cold, fighting for survival in an already challenging and difficult society. Sir, I deem this budget a long, empty talk, one which has been a funded waste by taxpayers' dollars to hold Parliament and the budget sitting to have the Honourable Minister come before this August House and Guyanese to indicate such harsh measures in the form of a national budget. Mr. Speaker, in an already challenged and adverse Guyanese society, one would have expected that a budgetary plan coming to this House, it would bring great relief for all citizens, workers and their families amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. But sir, this budget failed to do just that. Instead, Mr. Speaker, it has caused Guyanese now to be in a much depressed and worrisome state, now knowing that they have to put up very soon with 3 major pandemics instead of 2 in one country. Firstly, the COVID-19 pandemic, secondly, the PPPC government, and thirdly, the soon-to-be-passed 2022 budgetary allocations. To this end, sir, permit me to tell you about the wanton woes and failures of the PPPC's government 2022 budget. Public health in Region 5, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this budgetary allocation will fail the people of Region 5, Mahaica-Borbis region, significantly with some $219 million allocated to this region for healthcare in an oil-producing economy, a mere $24 million more than last year's allocation. Sir, all that this allocation will do for the people of Region 5 is purchase 1 ambulance. Yes, sir, 1 ambulance. 1 bus. It will also cater for a storage barn and oxygen supplies for 2 health centers and the Maikoni Hospital, along with the construction of a living quarters. Mr. Speaker, this is a demonstration of the gross incompetence by this administration and the lack of vision for the region. Not forgetting, Mr. Speaker, it is the true uncaring nature of the PPPC government. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you what the people of Region 5 needs. We need new ambulances, 1 to be added to the existing ones at both Fort Wellington and Maikoni hospitals. In addition, 3 new ambulances which should be placed at health centers across the region at our far-flung and densely populated areas such as Rosignol, Bushlot, and Haidam, respectively, in cases of emergencies. Mr. Speaker, we need a new state-of-the-art modern regional hospital to house all the necessary departments and sectors of public health care services, such as a functioning surgical theater, physiotherapy and radiology center, maternity and pediatric wards, and dialysis centers. Sir, we need a fully equipped and functioning laboratory at both our hospitals. Sir, we need hospitals that are properly staffed and catering for all levels of those staff and ensuring that they would have at least the basic PPEs and medical operating equipment. Mr. Speaker, our Amerindian brothers and sisters of Maracaibo needs a river ambulance to get them from 96 miles up the Maikoni River in cases of emergencies. Mr. Speaker, river ambulance. Mr. Speaker, we need sufficient supply of drugs so that we can move from often being referred to a private pharmacy for purchases, especially when our senior citizens got only a mere $3,000 on their old age pension, and with cost of living significantly skyrocketing on a daily basis and public servants only receiving a slim 7% in salary for almost 3 years. Mr. Speaker, how can we survive? Sir, just how can the ordinary Guyanese survive under these difficult conditions? Mr. Speaker, when the regional administration and the PPPC government can get all that right with a well-paid and happy public sector staff corps, then they can come back to this house and call it Budget 2022. But for now, sir, this budget is a long, empty talk. Mr. Speaker, permit me to touch on education in the Mahaica-Borbis region. Again, in this oil-producing economy, and education being one of our main pillars of development in society, sir, this sector received a meager $20 million or 14.7% increase from last year's $136 million, taking it to $156 million. Sir, the PPPC government continues to deny a good life for all Guyanese, our teachers and children in the Mahaica-Borbis region. Sir, I would continue to stress the cry for the people for an urgent need of a new and separate building to house the number 8 nursery school, which is presently being housed at the lower flat in an already crowded number 8 primary school building. Not an extension of a building, Mr. Speaker. Sir, permit me to say to the Honorable Minister of Education that we are still in a COVID-19 pandemic, and all our schools should now be developing new safe spaces and be adequately outfitted with quality furniture, not like the inferior table and chair combinations that were sole source and purchased by the regional administration last year for our precious teachers to sit on. And the Honorable Jafar Ali can testify to that. Mr. Speaker, from this budgetary allocation, all we can see is rehabilitative and maintenance upgrade works being done to existing structures. Nothing new, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, where is the Ministry of Education plan to advance more new schools and smart classrooms in Region 5? Sir, where is the study and plan to have a Cyril Potter College of Education for our hundreds of teachers who have to travel to Region 6 East Berbice Quarantine and Georgetown Region 4 to access training? Mr. Speaker, in essence, what am I advising here today is what a Mahaica-Borbis regional budget should look like, especially in an already $607 million rich economy. Mr. Speaker, this 2022 budget is like the flood relief and the COVID-19 cash grant. Highly politicized, ethnicized, unfair, corrupt, and benefits only the friends and elites of the PPPC to get rich and for some more rich. Mr. Speaker, permit me to touch on public infrastructure. Sir, deplorable roads and broken drainage systems should be a thing of the past for all in a well-claimed oil-rich economy like Guyana. However, sir, the PPPC remains resolute in building Day One Guyana. As of such, only one set of communities can have new upgraded roads like the Honorable Jafar Ali, his road, canals and bridges. Mr. Speaker, let me list from the long empty talk a number of communities that will benefit from roads and streets in the regional allocation. Sir, for example, completion of road at District Number 10, the Hoop Mahaika. And Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Jafar Ali can tell you who lives there and who will benefit. The regional chairman. The regional chairman. Upgrade and rehabilitation of works to roads at Waterloo, Bushlot, Bath Settlement, and Number 10 West Coast Babi, sir. Mr. Speaker, let us face the facts. These are extracts from Volume 3, Reference Code 346, Program 753, Public Works, under the executing agency, Regional Democratic Council, Region 5. With no other villages being mentioned, sir, it begs the question, what happened, the Honorable Jafar Ali, to villages like Belladrum, Hopetown, Lovely Lass, Calcutta, Trafalgar, and Number 5, just to name a few. So what you said the other day in this House, Honorable Member, and you spoke about love and care, is far from the truth. Sir, this confirms that the Honorable Minister was right. The PPPC is on a mission of building Day One Guyana. When they set out to spend an entire budgetary allocation, over $131 million, sir, in predominantly only PPPC supported base and Indo-Guyanese community. Mr. Speaker, how dare the PPPC want to say to Guyanese that this budget is for all and benefits all? Mr. Speaker, apart from the heavily ethnicized and politicized nature of this allocation of the nation's resources, the PPPC administration is seeking to starve all communities that does not support them from positive growth and development, like Region 4 and Region 10, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me help the Honorable Minister with a fair work plan for Region 5 Public Works. The Number 29 primary school needs urgent repairs. But sir, I guess the Honorable Jafar Ali knows whose children goes there. The Bahama Branch Road is in a deplorable state, sir. Several streets in Ithaca and Trafalgar Line are impassable and needs to be repaired, Mr. Speaker. People live there too. The Number 8 primary school street is like the Lethem Trail. Cross streets in under Neiman and Hopetown are far beyond repairs, Honorable Jafar Ali. You can fix them and then come back and talk about love and one Guyana. Mr. Speaker, I dare the Honorable Minister to add those to his work plan and then return to this House and call it a national budget. Mr. Speaker, permit me to touch on agriculture. Mr. Speaker, the sugar industry has been pronounced dead by the PPPC administration when they failed to resurrect and reopen the number of estates as they promised to do once they returned to office. Mr. Speaker, this is not only a failed promise, but an unrealistic venture, especially, sir, when they keep plunging billions of dollars every year to prop up the image and survivability of Gaisuku at the expense of thousands of poor Guyanese and hard-working public servants who continues to suffer. Sir, Let me let the Guyanese people know about the performance of this unprofitable, poorly managed.
Honorable Member, let me know you need an extension to tell us about that.
Mr. Speaker, I do move that the honourable member be given 5 minutes to conclude his presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Chief Whip. Honorable Member, you can tell us about that in the next 5 minutes as you conclude.
Thank you, sir. Sir, in 2022, the APNU-AFC coalition left a 5-year 2020 to 2025 business plan for Gaisuku. Sir, that plan had estimated to continue on the path of production of 147,000 metric tons of sugar annually. However, Mr. Speaker, with the PPPC managing the sugar industry, we saw production significantly reducing from 92,246 metric tons in 2019 to just over 80,000 metric tons in 2020. A revised 97,420 metric tons in 2021 to 70 metric tons to an unsatisfactory 57,995 metric tons. Then to a further reduction, Mr. Speaker, of the planned production target of 66,000 metric tons for 2022. Mr. Speaker, all this represents a 34.7% decline in the performance of the sugar industry. Mr. Speaker, this government spent almost $30 billion on Gaisuku from 2020 to now and still failed to reopen one estate. Yes, Honorable Zulfikar Mustafa, one estate. Mr. Speaker, the Honorable Minister in his budget presentation said on page 29, paragraph 4.39, to this end, I quote, these products will increase from 34% in 2020 to 64% of total production in 2022. How laughable, sir. Mr. Speaker, if we can't produce the sugar, how will we be able to produce the new bagged and packaged sugar products at an increased 64% in 2022? Mr. Speaker, I dare say to the Honorable Minister with responsibility for finance that he is living in Disneyland and planning a fairy tale for Gaisuku in Wonderland. Mr. Speaker, the sufferings continue for rice farmers. Sir, I visited a number of farmlands and had a first-hand look at the farmers, at what the farmers are going through to make a daily living. Mr. Speaker, rice production declined by 16.1% over the last year, while the price for fertilizer tripled on the market, sir. Mr. Speaker, the plight across the rice industry ranges from deplorable farm-to-market access road, clogged irrigational canals, and the unfair, irresponsible manner of which flood relief cash grants was distributed, with only the rich and the associates of the PPPC receiving those relief. Sir, in Bushrod village, a large-scale cattle and rice farmer who is a well-known supporter of the APNU-AFC was denied fair compensation for his losses. Let me tell you, sir, this farmer has, with evidence to show, hundreds of acres of rice land that he cultivates and over 150 head of cattle, sir, but he was given a check in his name of only $100,000, while persons who have never planted not even grass, Mr. Speaker, receive checks worth of $2 to $5 million in that community. Mr. Speaker, then those on the other side doesn't want us to come here and talk about corruption. Well, sir, if it's not corruption, then what is it? In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, this long, empty talk of a budget will put significant pressure on the lives of ordinary Guyanese. Sir, it will take only the hand of God to perform a divine rescue divine act to rescue this nation out of the hands of the modern day pharaohs of Egypt called the PPPC government. Nonetheless, sir, I can assure Guyanese that God is watching and he will act very soon, like the words of Moses to the Israelites in the book of Exodus 14:13. Do not be afraid, Mr. Speaker. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will accomplish for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see them no more forever. According to the New King James Version, the PPPC shall be no more. Mr. Speaker, Budget 2022 is crude, cruel, and wicked. It is like a runaway train heading this country into a serious wreckage. It will do the ordinary Guyanese no good. And finally, Mr. Speaker, Guyanese today are emotionally distressed at hearing this budget and will soon file a report with the Criminal Investigation Department. I thank you.